Okay, so let's start our activity na. No? Okay, so again, tatlong questions lang sasagutan ko. I will leave the other items for you to practice. No? The answers will be posted over the weekend. No? So, popost ko na lang dito sa group chat natin dito sa MS Teams. Okay? So, be ready. Get your calculator and your paper, pencil, pen, no? And start na tayo. Okay. So, last time we were able to to know the process on how to carry out gravimetric analysis, no. So what we do there is that we have our metals, no, we have our ions, we precipitate them with precipitating agents, no. So once yun ay nag-precipitate na, we will wash it, we will filter it, wash it, and then later on we will dry it or ignite it, no. So after nun, we will get the final mass of our um, precipitate. Then what happens nun is from that mass, we can convert that back to our original ions, no, using stoichiometry. No? So kunwari, you want to convert your precipitate back to the original form, gamit ka lang ng stoich, no, para makuha mo yung original mass ng iyong analytes. Okay? So let's have this problem. No? Problem number 1, ito ay easy lang. The calcium in a 200 ml sample of a natural water was determined by precipitating the cation as calcium oxalate. Okay? The precipitate was filtered, washed, and ignited in a crucible with an empty mass of 26.6002 grams. The mass of the crucible plus calcium oxide was 26.7134 grams. Calculate the concentration of calcium in water in units of grams per 100 ml of the water. No, teka lang. Okay, may dumating lang na labada. Anyway, so ang meron sa atin dito is that tagalogin natin yung nangyari sa problem. So we have calcium sa tubig, no? So yung calcium sa tubig that is dissolved as ions, no? So calcium ion. In order for you to to collect the calcium ions in your water sample, you have to precipitate it, no? Para maging solid siya, then pwede mo na siya ma-filter. So ang ginamit ni analyst dito ay yung oxalate ions, no? So yung oxalate, binuhos niya sa ating sample until all the calcium were precipitated as calcium oxalate. Then finilter yon, winash, and then inignite. No, what's the purpose of ignition? So the purpose of ignition is to dry our sample and also to convert our oxalates into oxide. No, so anong nangyari dito sa part na to after ignition? 'Di ba? Calcium oxalate yan before. So, ganito yung nangyari. So, we have calcium oxalate, then ininit yan, no? So, the purpose of that is to evaporate all the water and to convert our calcium oxalate to much more stable molecule, calcium oxide, no? So, mas stable to. Okay? So, bale, ganito yung flow chart natin. Calcium 2 plus, naging calcium oxalate, and then later on, naging calcium oxide after the ignition. So, ang tanong sa atin is to calculate the concentration of calcium in water units of gram per 100 ml of the water. Okay, so, basically, di ba alam na natin yung mass neto. So, i-convert lang natin yan back to calcium ion concentration. Okay. So, madali lang yan using stoich. So, let's get started. So, ano yung mga binigay sa ating masses, no? Pati mga volume. So, we have 200 ml volume of the sample. Okay, so we have 200 ml here. And then, ano meron? Ignited in a crucible with an empty mass. No? So, ano ba itsura ng crucible? Let me show you. Ha? lang. Pakita ko sa inyo itsura ng crucible. Wala kasi tayo sa lab kaya mahirap siya i-imagine, no? So, ganito yung itsura ng crucible. Show ko dito. Ayan. So, ito yung itsura ng crucible. Di ba? After filtration, yung filter paper, pinapasok namin dito sa loob. Okay? So, kailangan before mo lagyan yan ng kung ano-ano, timbangin mo muna siya. No? Sabi sa problem, ang mass daw ng empty crucible ay 26.6002 grams. Then after nun, pag alam mo na yung mass ng crucible mo, lalagyan mo na yun ng precipitate, no? Filter paper and then precipitate. So, papasok mo yan dyan. Then, ano susunod na gagawin namin dyan? Sinusunog namin yung buong crucible, no? So, aapoyan namin yan until the paper, no? The filter paper will evaporate, literally. Mako-convert siya into carbon dioxide and water. And at the same time, yung iyong precipitate sa loob, magiging ano na siya, magiging dried na, no? So, from calcium oxalate, magiging calcium oxide na siya. So, yan, sinusunog namin to. And hindi to nababasag agad-agad kasi ceramic to, no? Para siya yung yung kawali nung unang panahon, yung mga pot, no? Sinusunog talaga siya until madry kung ano man yung nasa loob niya. Okay? So, yan yung itsura ng crucible. Okay? So, balik na tayo sa ating problem. So, sabi sa problem natin is that yung ating crucible may empty mass of 26.6002. Nasulat natin. M crucible is 26.6002 grams. Okay? Then, after ignition, no, nilagay mo na yung precipitate mo, filter paper, then inignite mo siya. After that process, the mass of the crucible with calcium oxide is now 26.7134 grams. Okay. So, ang question dyan is paano mo kukunin yung mass ng precipitate, mass ng calcium oxide. So, pagsusubtract mo lang tong dalawa. Okay. So, yung mass with the precipitate minus the empty mass of your crucible. So, pagsusubtract mo lang yung dalawa, so that you will get the mass of calcium oxide. And that is equal to, calculate nyo na lang, wag nyo na i-mental yan. Okay, so that is equal to 0.1132 grams. So, yun yung mass ng calcium oxide natin. Okay? So, since alam na natin yung mass ng calcium oxide, we can now convert that into the mass of calcium present in your sample. Okay, so paano natin i-convert yung calcium oxide to calcium? By using stoichiometry. No? So in order for us to solve for the mass of calcium, that is, you start with your mass of calcium oxide. Anong gagawin sa mass ng calcium oxide? Sabi sa Stoic, co-convert sa moles yan. Okay. So, to convert calcium oxide into moles of calcium oxide, you have to divide it by the molar mass of calcium oxide. At this point sa equation na to, we have moles of calcium oxide na. What's next? Pagdating sa moles ng calcium oxide, i-convert mo yon into moles of calcium. How? Using stoichiometric factors. No? Okay. So, paano yun? No, kahit walang equation, kaya mo gumawa nun. So, paano? Masyadong malaki yung ating, Okay. So, yung nasa baba mo will be your given substance. So, that will be the mole of calcium oxide. And yung nasa taas will be your desired substance. Yung gusto mo kunin. In our case, yun yung calcium. Okay. So, mole calcium. Ngayon, so na-set up na natin siya so that kapag minultiply natin ito dito, converted na siya into moles of calcium. Okay, malapit na tayo sa dulo. Kaso what's the problem? Wala tayong coefficients na. So, wala tayong equation, pero pwede tayong makakuha ng coefficient by just looking at the formula. Okay. Tignan mo lang yung chemical formula niyan. We have 1 mole of calcium per 1 mole of calcium oxide. No? Kasi isa yung calcium sa calcium oxide. So that means 1 mole of calcium oxide will give us 1 mole of calcium. Diba? 1:1 lang ratio nila. So yan. So after multiplying this two, you will get the moles of calcium already. And to convert that into mass, you have to multiply it by the molar mass of calcium na lang. So we're almost done. Okay. Yung sabi ko sa inyo, stoic lang talaga itong gravimetry. We're almost done na. Copy ko lang and paste. Okay. So, ganito yung ginagawa sa stoic. Hindi na tayo nag-step by step, 'di ba? Kapag inorganic chem, solve mo muna to, then after nyan, solve mo to, then ngayon, solve mo to. No? But for analytical chemistry, we're going to solve all the problems with stoic kasi. No? So, imagine nyo na lang kung gaano karaming time yung mauubos kapag one by one tayo nag-solve. No? So, ang ginagawa talaga sa Anachem is gumawa ka na ng general equation. Okay, so gusto kong masanay kayo sa paggawa ng general equation. Kailangan nasa isip nyo na ano yung nangyayari per step. Kunwari, dito sa side na to, conversion yan to moles. Ito, conversion to moles of the other substance. Then ito, conversion to mass. Na. So, ganun. Huwag na kayo mag-step by step kasi sayang oras. Okay. And limited lang yung time natin kapag nagko-quiz tayo, di ba? So, isang bagsakan na yung calculation. Okay. So, ayan. So, ayan. So, we have this equation na. What's left is for us to plug in all our values. No? Lahat ng mga numbers natin, ipasok na natin sa equation. Okay, so let's plug in the mass of calcium oxide. Plug in 0.1132 grams. Molar mass ng calcium oxide, nasa problem na yon. Excuse me. So that is 56,077 G mol, okay, grams per mole. O yung factor, 1 to 1 lang. And then the molar mass of calcium, which is 40.078 G mol. Okay. So after solving for this, you get your mass ng calcium na. Okay. So let me solve na. Solving kayo. Okay. So 4 decimal places tayo, no? Typical 'yon kapag gravimetry. Kapag mass 4 decimal places. Pag percent 2 decimal places. So ganun yung usual process sa gravimetry. Okay? So the mass of calcium will be 0.0809 grams of calcium. Okay. So we're almost done. So yan, nakuha na natin yung mass ng calcium sa 200 ml sample natin. Okay? Ngayon, anong tanong? Calculate the concentration of calcium in water in units of grams per 100 ml water. So, paano mo makukuha yung grams per 100 ml ng water? Okay. Bago mo makuha yung grams per 100 ml water, you may want to solve first for the grams of calcium per ml of water. So, ganun muna gagawin natin. We have to look for the mass of our calcium per ml of water. Okay? So, dito na lang tayo sa side na to. So, kunin natin yung grams calcium per ml of our sample of our water. So that will be 0.0809 grams calcium divided by the volume of your sample, 200 ml. Okay. So divide natin yung dalawa. So that will be, excuse me, 4.045 times 10 raised to negative 4 grams calcium per ml water. Okay. So medyo malapit na tayo. Kasi nakuha na natin yung grams per ml. Ang sabi ng problem, grams per 100 ml. O, paano yon? You have to multiply this by 100 ml. Ganun lang gagawin. Okay. So to get the grams per 100 ml, you just multiply this number by 100 ml. No? It's 4045 times 10 raised to negative 4 pala. Negative 4 gram per ml times 100 ml. That will give us 0.04045 grams per 100 ml. So that will be our final answer. Pwede rin namang i-round off mo yan to 4 decimal places. That will be 0.0405, no? Okay. So, ganyan mag-solve lang, no? So, walang bago dito. Stoichiometry lang talaga yung focus natin dito, no? So, again, how were we able to solve this problem? So, from the initial given masses there, you have to identify ano yung mass ng precipitate mo, ng calcium oxide. So, from the mass of the calcium oxide, you can convert that to mass of your calcium. So, yan, kinonvert natin yung calcium oxide to moles of calcium oxide. Then, yung moles ng calcium oxide, kinonvert natin into moles of calcium using this stoichiometric coefficients or factor. After that, may moles of calcium na tayo. Then, we multiply it by the molar mass of calcium so we get the mass of the calcium. Okay? So, yan, nag-plug in na tayo. Ito na yung mass ng calcium. So, ang hinahanap sa atin sa problem is yung grams of calcium per 100 ml. So, bago natin kunin yung per 100 ml, kunin muna natin yung per ml. How? Ay, nawala na. So, paano yon? So, you have the grams of your calcium, divide mo sa volume ng sample mo, you have your gram calcium per ml of your sample. Since this problem specifically requires 100 ml volume daw, sabi niya, gusto niya 100 ml, edi times mo na lang to sa 100 ml. So, you will get this final answer. Okay? So, familiar ba yung ganitong problem sa quiz number 1 nyo? Meron kasing ganyang problem sa quiz 1. So, you are unknowingly doing gravimetric analysis na doon. Okay. Kasi kaya naman, no? Ano lang yun eh. Stoic lang naman talaga yung gravimetry. Okay? So, ayan. Do you have any questions with regards to this item, no? Okay. Or okay pa naman kaya? Dali pa, no? Okay. So, anong problem dito sa worksheet? Sige, let's have Levin.
Sir, ask ko lang po regarding dun sa may concentration. Always po bang molality yung gram per ml po?
Not really, no? Kasi yung gravimetric questions natin, iba-iba yung gusto nila eh. Yung ibang problem, gusto ng grams per ml. So, you have to divide the mass by the volume. May ibang problem na gusto grams per 100 ml. Katulad nito, ginawa natin. Meron namang problems na gusto percent weight, no? So, kapag percent weight yan, yung mass ng iyong analyte, i-divide mo lang sa mass ng sample mo times 100 na. So, dun lang nagkakatalo sa dulo kung ano ba yung gusto ni problem, no? So, tatlo lang naman yung options doon. Pwedeng grams per ml, grams per certain volume of ml, o kaya percent weight. Okay. So, dun lang yung options natin doon. Okay. Kung hinahanap ng problem ay grams per ml, ganito lang. Pero kunwari, grams per certain volume, i-multiply mo yung makukuha mo dito dun sa volume na in-specify. In our case, 100 ml. Kung hinahanap naman ay percent weight, no? So, ibig sabihin yan, you divide the mass of your analyte by the mass of your sample. Okay? So, in our case, wala tayong mass ng sample kasi liquid to eh. Okay? So, wala tayong value for that. Okay? So, ganun. Tatlo lang yung typical na hinahanap dyan. Okay? So, anong
Thank you.
problem? Sige, thank you then. So, anong problem yung similar dito sa number 1? Yung problem na yon will be number 3. So, gabayan ko kayo paano nyo to sasagutan, no? So, syempre, kayo magsasagot na ito eh. So, gabayan natin kayo. So, we have this molecule here, okay? Piperazine. So, in one experiment, 0.3126 gram of the sample, ito yon yung piperazine, was dissolved in 25 ml acetone and 1 ml acetic acid, no? After 5 minutes, the precipitate was filtered, washed with acetone, and dried at 1108 degrees Celsius and found to weigh 0.7121 grams. No? So, gabayan ko kayo ano meaning ng numbers niya yan. Okay. So, ganito. Etong 0.3126 gram ng sample, that pertains to your piperazine, your analyte. Okay? Sir, ano yung ganap dito? 25 ml acetone, 1 ml acetic acid was added. So, yan ay ano na lang, steps sa gravimetry. And you don't need those numbers. No? Hindi mo kailangan yung numbers na yun. Kasi again, gravimetry to, mass lang yung focus natin. Okay? So, ibig sabihin yung 25 ml acetone, 1 ml acetic acid, hindi natin kailangan yun. Nasa steps lang yun. Kinikwento niya lang, o paano mo ipe-precipitate yan, o you add acetone and acetic acid. So, yun lang yung kwento ng sentence part na yan. Okay? So, after nun, blah, 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 sabi dito, the precipitate was filtered, washed, and dried and found to weigh 0.7121. So, ano itong 0.7121 grams, no? So, that is the mass of your precipitate. Okay? So, ano po yung precipitate ko? Kaya nga may equation sa taas, no? The equation at the top will tell you kung ano yung precipitate, no? Okay? Ayun, sinabi na rin naman dito sa sentence sa una. So, ito yung piperazine, nireact yan with acetic acid. Here, 2 moles of acetic acid ang required so that it will precipitate as piperazine diacetate. No? So, that means itong 7121, ayan yung mass ng piperazine diacetate. Okay? Then, ang tanong, find the weight of piperazine in the sample. Okay. Since alam mo na yung mass ng piperazine diacetate, okay, so alam mo na yung mass neto, pag sinulat ko PPT, precipitate yon ha, hindi yung PowerPoint. So since alam mo na yung mass ng precipitate mo, you can convert that to mass of your analyte, no? Stoichiometry lang yan, no? Paano yung format, no? Mass analyte equals mass precipitate divided by molar mass ng precipitate. By the way, yung molar mass nakasulat na dito yung FM, formal mass. Other term yan for molar mass. Okay? So yan. So you divide this mass, itong 0.7121. Ito, divide mo yan by its molar mass. Ayon. Then i-convert mo yan stoichiometrically. Okay? So in our case, ano yung ratios nila? 1 to 1 lang, no? So 1 mole of this equivalent to 1 mole of that, no? Paano ko nalaman? Coefficient niyan 1, ito 2, ayun, may 2 doon. Tapos ito 1. So 1 to 1 yung coefficients nila. For this two particular molecule, 1 is to 1 lang yung ratio nila. Okay? So after doing this, na-convert mo na yung moles ng precipitate to moles of your analyte, in this case, piperazine. So pag na-convert mo na to into moles of this, you multiply it by the molar mass of analyte. So you get the mass of your analyte. Since ang hinahanap ay weight ng analyte, weight ng piperazine, So to solve for that, weight of analyte is equals to mass of your analyte. Divide mo yan sa mass ng sample. Ano yung mass ng sample mo? Ayun, yung sinabi sa una. Times 100%. Okay? So, ganun lang. So, gusto ko habang nagsasagot kayo na to sa susunod, no? By the way, ang schedule pala natin, Monday, wala tayong class meeting so that you can focus on this quiz kasi ang hirap niya, no? And by Thursday, walang klase because of EDSA. Okay, so wala na naman pasok, no? So, yun. Supposedly, dapat kasi chapter 4 tayo next week, Thursday. So, EDSA. Okay lang naman. We are still advanced pa rin naman in terms of the lessons. Malapit na tayo sa chapter 4 eh. Last chapter yon before midterm. Okay? So yan, so you have plenty of time no to work on this problem. So kung gusto ko, habang nagsasagot kayo uli sa bahay nyo, nood kayo ng videos na to pag in-upload ko na sa YouTube para magabayan kayo. No? Ulit-ulitin nyo. No? Lalo na yung last problem na sasagutan ko kasi mahirap yan. Okay, so ganyan lang magsagot niyan. Okay. So mapapansin nyo sa Anakim, no? Hindi lahat ng numbers gagalawin. No? Ang daming sinabi, no? Ayan. Pero hindi yan important. So kailangan alam mo kung ano yung kailangan mo dapat, no? So ganun lang. Okay? So that will be the easy problem sa gravimetry, no? And yan, familiar naman kayo doon, no? Second problem. Ito. Remember, dalawa, excuse me. Remember, dalawa yung types ng gravimetric analysis. It could be precipitation method or pwedeng volatilization method, no. Yung kanina precipitation method yon, it involves precipitating your analyte no into a solid, no, and then titimbangin mo siya later on. This problem naman, no, is an example of volatilization reaction, volatilization method, no. So what happens in volatilization method? Sabi ko last time, 'di ba? In volatilization method, your matter, usually organic substances, you combust it in the air to produce carbon dioxide and water. Okay? So for example, you have your organic molecule CXHYOZ plus oxygen gas that will produce carbon dioxide and water. Certain moles of carbon dioxide and water. Okay? So, ganito mangyayari dyan. Yung carbon mo, lahat ng carbon sa iyong molecule, they will all be converted to CO2. Yung hydrogens mo, lahat yan mako-convert into H2O. No? And yung oxygen, medyo tricky pa yan ma-solve, no? Kaya magbibigay ako ng additional questions na lang. Although may sagot na yung ibibigay ko na yun. Okay. So, ang focus muna natin dito for now is carbon and hydrogen, no? So, in volatilization method, what happens is that your carbon from your matter is converted to carbon dioxide. And yung hydrogens mo, they are all converted into water vapor, no? Or water molecules, no? So, from the mass of your carbon dioxide and from the mass of your water, you can determine the percent carbon of your sample and the percent hydrogen of your sample as well. Okay? So, ganun. Paano po, sir, yung percent oxygen? Magbibigay na lang ako ng sample problem about that. No? Kwento ko na lang mamaya. Okay? So, ganun ha. Ito yung volatilization method. Carbon, hydrogen usually yung hinahanap. Okay. So, yan. Now, let's try, no? Burahin natin to. Number 5. A compound weighing 5.714 milligrams produced 14.414 milligrams of carbon dioxide, 2.529 milligrams of water upon combustion. Find the percent weight of carbon and hydrogen in the sample. Okay. Since may idea tayo, combustion reaction to, paano mo malalaman yung carbon from your sample? You can determine the mass of the carbon from your sample using the mass of CO2 produced. Kasi sabi ko nga kanina, lahat ng carbon nagiging carbon dioxide. Okay? O ngayon, punta naman tayo dito sa susunod. Paano mo malalaman yung percent weight ng hydrogen? So for you to determine the percent weight of hydrogen, all you have to do is alamin mo yung mass ng water produced, then convert it back to hydrogen. Okay? So gawin natin yon. By the way, kapag nagsasagot kayo ng volatilization method, ulit-ulit lang tong process na to. Kaya kung ano yung format na isulat ko, yun na rin yung gagawin nyo most likely. Papalitan nyo na lang yung numbers. Okay? So, let's try. Sagutan muna natin. Mass ng carbon. Hanapin muna yung mass ng carbon before we get the percent carbon. Okay? So, saan natin makukuha yung mass ng carbon? Sa CO2 produced by our reaction. So, we start with the mass of CO2. Ano gagawin para ma-convert yan to mass ng carbon? No, stoic. No? Pag sinabi kong stoic, ko-convert mo agad sa moles. So, mass CO2 divided by the molar mass CO2 that will give us the moles of CO2. So, itong fraction na to, moles of CO2 na yan. What's next? Once you have the moles of CO2, you are going to convert that to moles of carbon. Okay? So, paano yon? Stoichiometric factor yon. You have your CO2 sa baba para ma-cancel. You have moles of carbon sa taas so that that will remain. Okay? Ang ano na lang problem natin dito, yung kanilang coefficients. No? So, just look at the formula. No? Hindi naman natin kailangan ng chemical equation dito. Just look at the formula. No? For every mole of carbon dioxide, how many moles of carbon will be produced? Pwede magsagot yung iba, ha? Pwede kayo gamit ng mic, type kayo dyan sa ating chat box. For every mole of carbon dioxide, ilang mole ng carbon yung mapoproduce? Ayun, so 1. Andito pala si Emmanuel. Student ko dati. Okay. So, yan. So, for every mole of carbon dioxide, magpo-produce yan ng 1 mole of carbon. Paano mo malalaman? Just look at the subscript of the formula. No? So, isa yung C dito. Ibig sabihin nun, isang C din yung mapoproduce mo. Okay? Charge lang ako. Okay. So, ganun lang. So, by multiplying this by this, we get the moles of carbon. Then, to convert that to mass, you multiply it lang by the molar mass of the carbon. Okay? So, that is our working equation. What's next is for us to plug in all the numbers na kailangan. What is the mass of carbon dioxide? The mass of carbon dioxide is 14.414 milligrams. No? Then, yung molar mass ng carbon dioxide, kinumpute ko na yan early, 44,009 Gmol. So, yan na lang yung gagamitin nyo rin, 44.09 Gmol. Okay, any reaction about this fraction bago tayo tumuloy? Okay ba yan?
Magiging millimole po, sir.
Or pwede rin naman, ang gawin natin, kailangan kasi ma-cancel yung grams, di ba? Milligram to, ito, milligram. So, pwede maging millimole to. No? Pero kung gusto mo maging grams to, ano yung shortcut na? Ganito kasi, di ba? Yung milligram, that is 1/1000th of a gram. Or basically, that's 10 raised to negative 3. So if you want to convert milligrams to grams, gawin nyo na lang is ganito. Maglagay na lang kayong times 10 raised to negative 3. Then grams na yan. Okay. Yan, shortcut na yan. Kaysa i-convert mo pa yan into 0.001, di ba? Wag na kayo magpakapagod doon. Lagyan nyo na lang ng times 10 raised to negative 3 para mabilis tayo mag-solve. Okay? May tumawag. Ayun, sa bangko ata. Anyway, so yan. Next nun is yung fraction, 1, 1. Then molar mass ng carbon, which is 12.011 Gmol. Ayan, solve nyo na. Oh, kayo na lang bigyan ko kayong time to solve for that. Proceed ako with mass ng hydrogen. Baka kasi tumawag tong bangko uli. Okay. So anyway, paano natin kukunin yung mass ng hydrogen? So that can be calculated as mass of water divided by the molar mass of water. So you have the moles of water na dyan. Ano nang gagawin? Yung moles ng water, i-convert mo to moles of hydrogen. Okay. So nasa baba yung mole ng water, nasa taas yung mole ng hydrogen. A question. For every mole of water, how many moles of hydrogen are there? No. For every mole of water, how many moles of hydrogen are there? Sagot ay 2. No. So for every mole of water, may dalawang hydrogen kang makukuha. Paano natin nalaman yon? Just look at the subscript. Okay. So by multiplying this two fractions here, we get the moles of hydrogen. No? Then finally, we multiply it by the molar mass of hydrogen. So we will get the mass of hydrogen. Let me plug in the values. Okay, so ito yung milligrams of water. Convert na natin yan into grams. Okay. So to convert that easily into grams, lagyan mo na lang ng times 10 raised to negative 3 grams. Molar mass ng water, ito na yung gagamitin nyo rin. So, pakinote na lang, 18.015 grams per mole times 2 over 1 times the molar mass of hydrogen, 1008 Gmol. Okay, so I want you to solve for the mass of carbon and then later on, percent carbon. Sige, so practice kayo. Percent weight carbon, percent weight hydrogen. Sige. Practice kayo mag-solve. Okay, so let's check yung answers ninyo. Mass ng carbon will be, sinagutan ko na yan dito eh. So may cue card na. Nagsagot na ako kanina. So the mass of carbon, wala pala ako nilagay na mass dito. Solve patuloy ako. 14,414, 44,009. That will be 3.4 decimal places tayo muna ha. Kasi gravimetry to eh. Question, bakit 4 decimal places? Kasi, sagot doon, yung analytical balance kasi 4 decimal places siya. Kaya yon nakasanayan na lang. 9339. Okay, so that will be the mass of our carbon. So to get the percent weight of carbon, that is mass carbon divided by mass sample times 100%. Okay. Okay, so that will be 3.9339 times 10 raised to negative 3 grams. What's your mass of sample? Ito yan. 5714 milligrams nga lang. Convert mo yan into grams. Okay, so add lang mo yung times 10 raised to negative 3. Then times 100. So that will give you 68.86. Okay, so 68.86. Nagulo na yung number 8 ko. 86%. Okay? Or 68.85 na. So, yan. So, ano yung percent weight hydrogen? Ganun din. Solve natin. 2.529 times 2 times 1,008. 18,015. Okay. So the mass of hydrogen will now be 2.8301 times 10 raised to negative 4 grams. To get the percent weight of hydrogen, that will be the mass of hydrogen over mass ng sample times 100. So that will be 2.8301 times 10 raised to negative 4 grams divided by, nakakapagod magsulat na. Kaya yung quiz nyo, 10 items lang. 10 questions lang. 10 questions lang siya. Mas medyo tatagalan ko yung time limit, no? Kasi kawawa naman kayo eh. Ang dami niyang sinasagutan. So, yan. So, this equation here will give us the percent weight of hydrogen. So, let me type lang. 0.1 times 10 raised to negative 4. 5.714 times 10 raised to negative 3 times 100. So that will be in 2 decimal places 4.95%. Okay, so ganun lang. That's how we do combustion analysis in analytical chemistry. Kunwari, no? Kunwari, I ask you, what is the percent oxygen? Suppose that our sample contains... Okay. So, suppose our sample contains, oxygen. Paano mo gagawin yun? Alam mo kunin yung percent carbon. Alam mo kunin yung percent hydrogen. Paano mo kukunin yung percent oxygen? Kunwari lang ha. Okay. So, in solving for percent oxygen, you cannot solve it using stoichiometry. Hindi mo siya pwede gamitan ng ganitong sandamukal na equations. Bakit? Kasi look, no? Gawin natin uli yung ating formula. Okay? So, this is our general formula. We know that all the carbon from our substance will be converted to oxygen and all our hydrogens will be converted into hydrogen. Ang tanong, oxygen. Ang problem kasi with combustion analysis is that you have an external source for oxygen. May external source ka dapat, no? So that means, kunwari, i-convert mo yung oxygen na to, eto to, pinagsama mo yung sum nila. Pag kinonvert mo yung oxygen na yan into moles of oxygen, it will not represent the mass of oxygen here, no? Hindi yan magbibigay ng mass ng oxygen na yan. Instead, it will give you the mass of the two oxygens here. Doon yung problem, no? Bakit? The mass of the oxygen cannot be directly computed, no? Using stoichiometry. So, paano yun? Ganito, may shortcut. Ito yung pinaka-shortcut dyan. Okay. So, the shortcut here is ganito. Di ba may mass yung sample mo? Okay. So, ano yung sabi ng law of conservation of mass, no? Kung ano yung mga atoms mo sa sample mo, pag ano yung mass nila, yun yung mass ng, kung ano yung mass ng atoms mo sa yung sample, pag pinagsama-sama mo yun yung mass ng sample mo overall, no? Kung ano yung mass ng kada atom, pag pinagsama-sama, yun na yung sa sample mo. So, basically, kunwari, ito yung ating sample, CXHYOZ, no? Ibig sabihin, the mass of the sample is equal to the sum of the mass of carbon, mass ng hydrogen, and mass ng oxygen. O yung mass ng carbon, pwede mo yung kunin from CO2. Ang mass ng hydrogen, pwede mo yung kunin from H2O. Paano mo kukunin yung mass ng oxygen? You can rewrite the equation. No? Pwede mo to i-rewrite in such way pwede mo masolve yung mass ng oxygen. How? Given kasi ito parati, di ba? Yung mass ng sample. So, gagawin mo lang, you have to rewrite the equation to get mass of oxygen and that will be given as mass sample minus mass carbon plus mass hydrogen. Basically, hahanapin mo ano yung kulang para maging equal yun sa mass ng sample. So to do that, that is just the mass sample minus the sum of these two. That will give you the mass of oxygen. And to get the percent weight of oxygen, that is just the mass of oxygen divided by the mass of your sample times 100%. Okay. So hindi mo na gagawin yung stoichiometry dito kasi mas lalo kang magugulo sa life, no? Ang gagawin mo na lang is ganito na lang. You know that your sample contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Kung alam mo na yung dalawa, alam mo to, pwede mo malaman yung isa by using algebra. Sa algebra lang, makukuha mo na yung mass ng oxygen, then later on, pag alam mo na yan, pwede mo nakuha yung percent weight of oxygen. Okay, so wala akong problem dito na may ganyan eh. However, I will attach such problem sa sa answer key na lang, no. Magdadagdag na lang ako ng questions dito sa ating answer key. Pero at least sa ngayon, alam nyo na bakit ganito yung equation na isusulat ko doon, no? Baka kasi magtaka kayo, bakit may ganyang equation dyan, no? So, ang reason lang nun is that if ang ating compound ay composed ng tatlong elements lang, then pag pinag-add mo yung mass ng kada element na yon, equal yun sa mass ng sample mo. So, ito yon mathematically speaking. So, kung alam mo na yung dalawa, alam mo yung mass ng sample mo, pwede mo malaman yung mass ng isa pang element, no? So, ganun lang. Magbibigay na lang akong additional problem with this, ha? Para may ma-practicean pa kayo. Sa Sabado na nga lang. Sabado or Linggo. Para makapag-review pa kayo. Ayun lang. Kaya habang mag-aaral kayo, panoorin nyo na lang ulit itong video na to, no? Para ma-refresh sa mga pinagsasabi ko. Okay. So, ano yung similar problem dito? Itong number 6, no? So, for number 6, ganun din yung process. Find carbon and hydrogen percent. So, basically, you're just going to redo all of this, no? So, gusto ko kabisaduhin nyo na yung molar mass ng CO2, molar mass ng carbon, molar mass ng water, and ng kay hydrogen. Kasi ulit-ulit yung gagamitin. Okay, so ganun lang. Any questions about this item? Or nasundan naman, or okay naman, or natutulog na tayo dyan. Okay lang naman yun. Okay, so it seems na wala namang question. Okay, so ganun lang siya. Kung ano yung format ng pagkasulat ko dito, yun na rin yung gagawin nyo. Okay, so may format na kayo. Papalitan nyo na lang itong mass, ito, pati ito. Yun na lang papalitan nyo. Pati itong mass ng sample nyo. Yan, may sagot na kayo. Diba? So, I will add another problems regarding this. Dun pala sa i-add kong problem, maglalagay ako dun ng involving oxygen and at the same time involving the determination of empirical formula. Okay. So, yung pag-determination ng empirical formula, ginawa nyo na yan nung senior high school. No? Kaya, ma-refresh din kayo dun eventually. Siguro gagawa ko ng separate video about that na lang. Okay, para may guide kayo. Total, marami naman kayong time next week kasi Monday di tayo magkikita, Thursday walang pasok na. So yun. May time kayo for review. Okay, so last item na tayo. Ito, disclaimer, yung last item mahirap talaga. Mag-algebra tayo. And when I say algebra, magsosolve tayo ng linear equations. Okay, so kapit lang, no? Okay. By the way, masanay na rin kayo mag-algebra, no? Ulit-ulitin ko na yung word na algebra kasi starting this topic, magli-linear equation tayo. Sa next chapter, which is next week, no? Which is next week, yung chapter na yon, it involves quadratic equation, trinomials, no? Solving for x, no? Then yung future topics natin, may logarithm na, etc. etc. Yung mahirap lang naman kasi sa Anakim yung math. Yung chem, sakto lang, kakabisaduhin mo lang. Okay. So itong problem na to, this will involve linear equations. So chill muna tayo. Mag-ready na. Sagutan na natin. So let's answer number 2. Ito yung hard mode question. A 0.2356 gram sample containing only sodium chloride and barium chloride yielded 0.4637 grams of dried AgCl. Calculate the percent of each halogen compound in the sample. Ayun na. Ang bilis ng tanong, no? Pero yung solution dito sobrang haba. So, tagalugin natin. No? Tsaka i-drawing natin ano nangyari. So, meron daw tayong 0.2356 gram of sample that contains sodium chloride and barium chloride. No? Okay. So, kunwari, ito, sodium chloride. Tapos, ito, barium chloride. Pag pinag-add mo daw yung masses nila, equal yon dito. 0.2356. Then, ano nangyari? Ipe-precipitate mo yan. So, lalagay mo yan sa tubig. What will happen to them is magiging ions sila. Magiging ions yan. Okay. So, magiging ions na yan. So, yan. Ions na yung mga salt natin. So, ano yung mga ions na magagawa natin dyan? Sodium, chloride, barium ions. Then, what's next? No? Ang ginawa sa problem is that naglagay siya ng silver cation. Naglagay siya ng silver ions. On purpose? To precipitate all the chloride ions. No? So, pag nilagyan mo yan ng silver, what will happen is that yung silver pati yung chlorine magsasama, they will be turned into a precipitate. Okay? Magiging solid yan pag inad mo yung silver solution. Okay? So, what will happen is that, yun nga, pagkalagay ng silver ion, magiging silver chloride na yan lahat, no? Ang tanong dito is, ano yung original mass ng NaCl pati BaCl2? Siguro mapapaisip kayo, no? Possible ba yung tanong na yan? No? Kasi nung unang encounter ko rin dito nung college ako, nagtaka ako. Sabi ko, pwede ba yan? Pwede naman pala. Okay. So ano yung naging flow ng ating question? You have your NaCl, you have your BaCl2, tinunaw sila, dinagdagan ng Ag ions yung solution, namuo lahat ng Cl from the two salts. And yung mass ng AgCl na yon, that is 0.4637 grams. From those info given to you, hanapin mo yung percent ng NaCl and ng barium chloride sa original sample mo na 0.2356 grams. Okay? So, tapos na tayo mag-visualize. Ngayon, let's convert those ideas into mathematical equation para masagutan na natin. So, equation number 1. Ano yung equation number 1 natin? Our equation number 1 will always tell us about the original sample source natin. Okay. So, ano yung sample natin? That is sodium chloride plus barium chloride. Pag pinag-add mo yung mass nila, that will give us 0.2356 grams. Okay. Alam na ba natin yung mass ng sodium chloride, pati ng barium chloride? Hindi, no? We don't have any idea. So, we're going to place a dummy variable, no? For sodium chloride, that will be X. And for barium chloride, that will be Y. Nakikita nyo na may linear equation tayo, no? Okay. So, X grams of NaCl plus Y grams of BaCl2 will give us 0.2356 grams sample. Okay. So, yun yung equation 1 natin. Yung about sa sample lang. Equation 2. What happened to the solution? What happened is that yung NaCl, na-convert yan into AgCl, di ba? So, this has been converted now to AgCl, no? Then, yung barium chloride, na-convert din siya into AgCl, no? Pag pinag-add mo yung dalawang AgCl formed from two solutions, or from two salts, pag kinuha mo yung sum ng dalawang AgCl na magagawa natin out of these two samples here, out of these two salts here, ang mass daw doon ay 0.4637 grams. Okay? So again, dalawa yung working equations natin dito. Una, yung mass ng NaCl plus mass ng barium chloride, that is equal to the sample mass. We don't know the value of X for sodium chloride and the value for Y sa barium chloride. That's why we used dummy variables na. We used X and Y. Then, yung X grams ng NaCl na-convert into AgCl. Yung Y grams ng barium chloride na-convert into AgCl as well. Pag pinag-add mo daw yung dalawang AgCl na yan, ang sum ng mass ay ito. Okay, so ito na yung sum ng mass. So, let's solve for X and Y. Okay. So, ito na. Dito na mag-start yung math natin. So, let us solve for the values of X and Y. Okay, so how are we going to do that? So, focus tayo on equation 2. Let us write the expression showing the conversion of NaCl to AgCl and the conversion of BaCl2 to AgCl. Ipakita natin yung conversion ng mass na to to AgCl and yung mass na to to AgCl as well. So, paano yon? Ganito. Kung anong ginagawa natin kanina, yun din gagawin natin ngayon. Okay? So we will write an expression which we will see yung conversion ng salts into AgCl. So gawin natin. So let's begin with mass of NaCl. Ano gagawin mo yan para ma-convert yan to AgCl? From mass, gagawin mong moles NaCl. How? Divided by the molar mass. So by dividing it by molar mass, you get the moles of NaCl na. Then after makuha mo yung moles ng NaCl, you convert it to moles of AgCl. NaCl sa baba, AgCl sa taas. Stoichiometry lang tong ginagawa natin na. Walang bago dito. Okay. So for every mole of NaCl, how many moles of AgCl can be produced? No? So kapag ganun yung question, tignan mo lang yung Cl, kung ano yung numbers nila, ano yung subscript nila. So ang NaCl, that will give us 1 mole of Cl. And yung 1 mole ng Cl na yon, that will be converted to 1 mole of AgCl. So that means the coefficient is 1 and 1. Okay? 1:1 yung ratio ng NaCl and AgCl with respect to NaCl. Okay. So ito, this fraction will give us the mole NaCl. If we multiply it here, that will give us the moles of AgCl. Nasa moles ng AgCl na tayo. Tapos anong kailangan natin? Mass ng AgCl, no? Para makuha natin itong term na to. So to convert mole into mass, you just multiply this by the molar mass of AgCl. Yun. So yan. So this expression is equal to the mass of AgCl from NaCl. Itong lahat ng to, equal yan dito. How about this one? Gayahin natin to. Okay. So we are going to convert this into AgCl. How? Kopyahin lang natin to. Okay. So we begin with the mass of barium chloride. Yung mass, i-divide mo sa molar mass to get the moles of barium chloride. So this will give us the moles of barium chloride. Okay? And yung moles ng barium chloride, i-convert to moles of silver chloride, no? Using fraction. Kulang ako ng space. Teka lang. So yung BaCl2 nasa baba, kasi para ma-cancel, AgCl sa taas. Now, question. For every mole of barium chloride, how many silver chloride can be produced, no? Or will be produced? For every mole of barium chloride, how many silver chloride will be produced, no? Suppose we have 1 mole of barium chloride. Ilang moles ng silver chloride ang magagawa? Dalawa. Okay, so 2. Because yung isang mole ng barium chloride magbibigay ng dalawang Cl-. And yung dalawang Cl- na yon, mako-convert yon into AgCl. So isang mole ng barium chloride, that will give us 2 moles of AgCl. Paano mo malalaman na to? Tignan mo lang yung subscript. Okay. So dalawang Cl magagawa mo doon. So ibig sabihin, dalawa na ito magagawa mo. Okay. So this will give us the moles of barium chloride. Multiplying it by this will give us the moles of silver chloride na. Nasa mole na tayo ng silver chloride. Then para makuha mo yung mass, which is needed dito sa equation na to, mass ng barium chloride, mass ng silver chloride, I multiply it by the molar mass. And that is all equal to 0.4637 grams. Okay, so itong term na to equal yan dito. Itong term na to equal yan dito. Pag pinag-add ko yung dalawa yan, that is equal to the mass of the precipitate, which is 0.4637. Okay, so what's next? No? What's next is for us to plug in all the numbers, no, that are needed. No? Siyempre yung x and y, matitira yan. Pero yung mga molar mass, pwede na natin i-plug in yan. Given na naman sa problem yung molar mass. Okay? So let's do that. Expand natin to. So the mass of NaCl will be represented as X. Okay? Etong 1 na to, so times 1 lang yan. Times 1. Okay? Molar mass ng AgCl. Nasa numerator yan mapupunta. Ito, 14332. Numbers na lang nilalagay ko, ha? Okay. So, ito yung X, ito yung 1, ito yung molar mass ng AgCl. Ito yun. Punta tayo sa denominator. Ano yung mga nasa baba? Molar mass ng NaCl times 1. So, ito yung molar mass times 1. Yan. So, we're done. Tapos na tayo dyan. So, ano po yung ginawa ko dito? Ang ginawa ko lang is yung mga molar mass, plinug in ko lang. Okay? Wala akong ginawang magic. No? So, ito mga molar mass, plinug in ko yung values. No? So, ito yung mga nasa numerator. Ito yung nasa denominator. So, ganun din gawin natin dito sa kabila. So, numerator, y times 2. Ito yung 2 na yun. Molar mass ng AgCl, that will be 14332. Dito tayo sa baba. Molar mass ng barium chloride, ito yun, 208. Times 1 mole ng barium chloride times 1. And lahat ng yan ay equal sa 0.4637. Okay. So, ano susunod natin gagawin? Let's simplify the numbers. Pagsama-samahin natin yung numbers. No? Let's multiply them and divide them. No? So, gawin natin yan. So, let's multiply and divide these numbers. So, that's 1 times this times this, and numerator divided by the denominator to get the simplified version of this equation. So, yung x hindi nyo ito-type sa calculator, just the number. So, that's 1 times 14332. Nasa denominator will be 58.44 times 1. So, that will be 2.4524x. Ginawa ko na lang 4 decimal places. Ang daming numbers eh. Okay lang naman yun. Plus, let's simplify this number here. Ito. So that's 2 times this divided by this number. 2 times 14332 divided by 20823. So that will be 1.3766y. And that is equal to 0.4637. So I will call this equation 2 prime. Okay, so pag may prime, may parenthesis lang. So bakit siya equation 2 prime? Kasi dito siya galing sa equation 2, di ba? So basically, ganito lang yung idea ng ginawa natin. No? So kung alam mo yung value ng x, pwede mo malaman kung ano yung mass ng AgCl from NaCl. Kunwari, 1 to. So 2 times 1 is, yun, ito na yung mass ng AgCl na nagawa natin from NaCl. Kunwari, alam mo na yung value ng y. Kunwari, 2 yan. So, kunwari, 2 lang na. Kunwari, 2 to. So, ibig sabihin nun, this times 2, yun yung mass ng AgCl that was formed from BaCl2. Okay? Kasi, so, ganun lang. Okay, so we have now 3 equations. No? Equation 1, ito yung original. Equation 2, it tells us na ito mako-convert into AgCl. Ito mako-convert into AgCl. Pag pinag-add mo yung dalawang mass ng AgCl, equal yan dito. Equation 2 prime tells us yung relationship ng x and y sa AGCL mass. So, ito na yon. So, to answer x and y, or to solve for x and y, what's next is that let's resolve the linear equation. Okay? So, to solve for this, ang ginagawa natin next dito will be to combine equation 1 and 2. Okay. So magkakaroon tayo ng elimination of variables. Okay. Pero pwede na naman mag-plug in tayo. So let me rewrite the equations lang para may copy tayo dito sa baba. Siguro hindi nyo inaasahan ganito bigla yung topic natin. No? Ganun talaga. Pero I will tell you, masanay na kayo. Anakem eh. Involved talaga yung math dito. Isipin nyo na lang pag nasagot nyo to, pwede na kayo maging chemist. Diba? 0.4637. So ito yung gagamitin nating equations. No? So ginawa natin, we converted equation 2 to equation 2 prime so we can see the relation of x and y sa ating precipitate. No? So nakita natin yung relationship niya sa ating precipitate. No? So ibig sabihin yung mass ng NaCl, pag ginawa mong precipitate, that is 2.4528 times the mass of NaCl. Ganon din sa barium chloride. No? So yung precipitate na makukuha mo from the barium chloride is equal to 1.3766 of that mass. No? Tapos pag pinag-add mo yon, equal yun dito. Okay. So ang gagawin natin dito, so we have two unknowns, no? X and Y. To solve for that, substitute na lang tayo. Yung parang ginagawa natin sa isotope mass before. Naalala nyo pa yun siguro. So ano pwede natin gawin? From equation 1, convert natin yan into one variable na. Sabihin natin, let us convert equation 1 into x. No? So, paano yan? Lipat mo lang yung y sa other side. So, that will be 0.2356 minus y. So, itong value ng x na to, ito yung ipa-plug in natin sa equation 2. Okay? So that we can solve for the value of y. Ginagawa nyo na to noong tawag dito. Ginagawa nyo na to nung isotope mass before, no? So, nothing new, ha? Walang bago dito. Algebra na lang to eh. Lipat ko to sa kabila para mas malaki space ko. Ay, ayaw niya magpalipat. Okay. So let us substitute the value of x we obtained from equation 1. So, paano yun? Plug in mo lang siya sa x. Excuse me. Ito yan, papalitan natin yan. So that will be 2.4524 times the value of x, which is this one. I highlight ko yan, 0.2356 minus y. Okay. Plus 1.3766y equals 0.4637. Okay? Solve for value of y na lang. Okay? So, let's solve for that. Distribute yung term. Distribute. Okay? Ito, pag nag-distribute kayo, copy nyo na lahat ng digits, no? Huwag tayo mag-round off sa solving for x and y to eh. So that will be 0.57778 minus 2.4524y plus 1.3766y equals 4637. Combine the like terms, no? Combine y's. Lipat na rin natin sa kabila itong ano. Hindi, combine na lang muna natin para hindi kayo malito. So, pagsamahin natin, negative 2.4524 plus 1.3766. That will be negative 1.0758y. Then, copy natin yung nasa number sa kabila. Okay? So, lipat natin yung number na yan sa kabila. Transpose doon. Magpapalit yan ng sign. So, that will be negative 10758y. 4637 minus 0.57778544. Pag-subtract natin yung dalawang yan. Itong ginagawa ko, algebra na to ha. Walang chemistry na dito. 0.114085544. Okay, so yan. Nasa final part na tayo. For us to solve for the value of y, we have to divide both sides with the coefficient of y. No? So, divide mo lang yung both sides by negative 1.0758, negative 1.0758. So, we will solve for the value of y. No? So, y is now equal to 0.1060. Ano yung y? Di ba ito na yung grams of barium chloride? So, nakuha na natin yung mass ng barium chloride by just using algebra. Okay? So, it is possible no, to solve for the mass of barium chloride dahil sa ginawa nating mathematical relationships. Okay? So, we were able to solve for the value of y. That is 0.1060 grams. No? How will we solve for x? No? So, to solve for x, ito So, yan. So, kopyahin natin yan. To solve for x, recall equation 1. Ano equation 1? X plus y equals 0.2, ano yun? 2356. 2356 grams, di ba? We now know the value of y. No? So, basically, hanapin natin yung x. That will be 0.2356 minus y. Plug in mo yung value ng y. And that will give us the mass of x, the mass of sodium chloride. That will give us 0.1296 grams of NaCl. Nakuha natin yung mass ng dalawang salt. No? So that means this problem is possible to solve. No? Don't worry kung siguro, alam ko confused kayo ngayon. No? Parang, ang daming nangyayari. No? Ganun talaga. No? Wala tayong choice na. Pero, to be honest with you, itong type ng problem na to, nagets ko lang to nung inulit-ulit ko yung questions. No? So, gusto ko gawin nyo habang nagre-review kayo na ito, ulit-ulitin nyo itong video na to until masundan nyo na. No? So, sa una lang siya intimidating, pero as long as you know the steps, no, madali na siya. So, tapos na ba tayo sa problem? Hindi pa. So, ang gusto sa atin ay percent of each halogen compound. No? Percent NaCl and percent BaCl2 daw. So, paano ko kukunin yung percent NaCl and percent BaCl2? Dito na lang sa left side. So to determine percent BaCl2, that is mass BaCl2 divided by the mass of sample times 100%. So that will be 0.1060 grams divided by, ano yung mass ng sample mo? Ito, 2356. Times 100%, and you will get a mass of percent mass pala of 44.99%. Okay, so yan yung percentage ng barium chloride sa ating sample. To get NaCl, ganun din, mass NaCl divided by mass ng sample times 100, or basically you can just subtract this from 100 para makuha mo yung sa NaCl. So that will be 0.1296 grams, 0.2356 grams times 100%. So that will be 55.01%. Okay. Okay. So that's how we solve for problems na involve yung mixture of two salts. No? Tawag sa problem na to ay mixture of two salts talaga. So from the mixture of two salts, ginawa mo siyang precipitate, then pwede mo malaman yung ratio nila, yung exact amounts ng salts na yun. Depending sa mass ng precipitate na mabubuo. No? So medyo mahabang process. No? Okay. So yan. Screenshot nyo na lang to sa video. Ayan, screenshot nyo yan. Para sa mga absent, ngayon, pakitakot na sila, no? Ayun, hirap, no? Okay, ang hirap ng mga nangyayari ngayon, no? Ganun talaga. Pero kaya yan. Okay, kayang-kaya nyo yan. So, again, before tayo mag-proceed, no? Bago natin tapusin yung ating session, ganito, mag-recap tayo. Ano nangyari? Dami eh. Recap. From the top tayo. Ano sabi natin from the top? We started with the first sentence. Sabi natin, ito yung mass ng sample at yan ay gawa sa NaCl and BaCl2. In equation, that is x plus y equals this. Okay? So, x NaCl, mass ng NaCl, y BaCl2, mass ng BaCl2. Pag pinag-add mo yun, equal yun sa mass ng sample. Ano yung equation 2? Ano ba sabi dito sa problem? Ang sabi sa problem is daw, etong dalawa, precipitate as silver chloride. And yung sum ng precipitates na nagawa nila ay equal sa eto, 0.4637. Ibig sabihin nun, equation 2 is AgCl from this plus AgCl from that. Pag pinag-add mo yun, yung mass ng AgCl yung makukuha natin. Then ano yung sumunod na ginawa natin? Sumunod na ginawa natin is that we express the mass of AgCl from each compounds, no, as this, no. So nag stoichiometry tayo. We converted mass of NaCl to AgCl. Ito 'yon. We converted mass of BaCl2 to AgCl. Ito 'yon. Mass, molar mass, conversion factor, then molar mass ulit. That will give us the mass of AgCl for both of from both of the salts, no. Then ano sumunod na ginawa natin? From this expression, yung mga molar mass plinag in natin, and then we simplified the numbers. Pinagsama-sama natin yung numbers. Dinivide, multiply to get this equation 2 prime, no. Pag equation 2 prime, dito na natin makikita yung values ng x, no, as the precipitate, no. Ayan, so this, ito na siya, as precipitate. Ito na yung katumbas niya as precipitate. Okay, so parang ito rin na yun. Yung ang nangyari lang is plinag in na natin yung mga values. Then, since we have two related equations who has the same unknown variables, we can solve for the values of x and y. So, ginawa natin, we, ano, we use equation 1, no, to eliminate x, okay? Tapos yung value ng x, sinubstitute natin sa equation 2, and the rest is plug in, nakuha natin yung y. Then, to solve for the x, gamitin mo uli yung equation 1, yun yung ginamit mo. Nakuha natin yung value ng x. No? So, we know that the value of y is the mass of barium chloride and the value of x is the mass of sodium chloride. No? So, to get the percent weight, that is just the mass of barium chloride divided by the mass of sample, which is 0.2356. And to get the percent weight of sodium chloride, that is the mass of NaCl divided by the sample's mass, 2356 then. So yan, that's how we answer this type of problem. No? Okay? So sa una, tricky yan, pero the more you retry this problem, no? So yun yung suggestion ko sa inyo, ulit-ulitin nyo to sa bahay. Okay? So the more na inuulit nyo sagutan itong problem na to, the more na magsisink in to sa inyo. Okay? Basta ang key lang dito is, ito, you set up the correct two equations. Kailangan correct yung two equations mo. So yung equation 1 always about the sample yon. Yung equation 2, yung conversion ng sample to precipitate. No? Okay, so conversion ng sample to precipitate. Pwede rin namang hindi precipitate. No? Pwedeng other compound. No? So, conversion of this to other compound, this to other compound. Tas yung mass nila overall. Yun yung equation 2. Then, you will expand your equation 2. Ipakita mo yung conversion from this to that. Ito yon. This to that. Ito yon. Then, the rest is algebra. Okay? So, that's how we solve for item number 2. Okay. Tricky ha. Tricky siya, pero kaya nyo yan. Ako naniniwala ako sa inyo. Anong problem dito sa worksheet yung similar dito? Ang similar na problem dito sa worksheet ay itong number 4. Gagabayan ko na kayo para masagutan nyo to. Okay? Para sa weekend makita nyo kung tama kayo or mali na. At para malaman nyo how to solve this correctly. So, itong number 4, ito yung similar problem dun sa mahirap na yan. Basahin natin. A mixture of the 8-hydroxyquinoline complex of aluminum and magnesium weighed 1.0843 grams. When ignited in a furnace open to the air, the mixture decomposed, leaving a residue of aluminum oxide and magnesium oxide weighing 0.1344 grams. Find the percent weight of aluminum 8-hydroxyquinoline complex in the original mixture. So, anong kwento dito? Parang yung kanina lang. So, you have two mixtures of salts, no? In this case, complexes, no? Meron kang ito, aluminum complex, AlQ3 ang formula. Ito naman yung isa, MgQ2 ang formula. Ang mass daw nitong dalawa ay ito, 1.0843. Nung ininit daw yan, ang natira na lang ay ito, aluminum oxide and magnesium oxide. Yung mass daw ng dalawang yan ay ito, 0.1344 grams. Okay? From those two equations, hanapin mo yung mass nito, itong original. So, tulungan ko kayo mag-set up ng equation para masagutan nyo to after the class. No? So, sabi ko yung equation 1, ito yung original sample mo parate. No? So, in our case, this will be the mass of AlQ3 plus the mass of MgQ2. Ito yon. Ito yan mixture of yan, blah blah blah. Ito yung dalawa yon. So ano daw yung mass nila? That is equal to 1.0843 grams. Okay? Alam ba natin yung values nila? Hindi, no? So mag-set ka ng variable x for this, y for that, no? Pwede naman magkabaliktad. Okay. So pag pinagsama mo yung mass na to and mass na yan, equal yan dapat dito. Let's have equation number 2. Ano nangyari sa ating complexes? Sabi sa problem, itong ALQ3 na-convert daw to AL2O3. Itong MgQ2 na-convert daw to into MgO. Pag pinag-add mo daw yung dalawang mass na yan, equal yan sa 0.1344 grams. Okay? So, ganito yung gagawin nyo. Ito yung equation 1. That is the mass of these two complexes. Equal yan dito. Nung sinunog na yan, na-convert ito dito. Na-convert ito dito. Yung mass daw nila ay ito. So, paano na gagawin nyo dito? After this, susunod yung gagawin ay i-express nyo na yung mass nito into this. No? Convert nyo na yung mass ng aluminum Q3 to aluminum oxide and yung mass ng MgQ2 to magnesium oxide. No, tulungan ko na kayo dito. So you start with mass of AlQ3. Divide mo yan sa molar mass ng AlQ3. So may moles ka na ng AlQ3. After nun, yung moles ng AlQ3, i-convert mo to moles of aluminum oxide. No? O, yung coefficients, kayo na bahala mag-isip. Ano kaya yan? Okay? And then, eventually, i-multiply mo yan sa molar mass ng aluminum oxide. Ganun din dito sa kabila. So, you start with, MgQ2 pala to. So, you start with MgQ2, a known mass. You divide that by molar mass ng MgQ2. Then, convert mo yan. MgQ2 to MgO. Ano kaya yung coefficients dyan? Kayo na bahala mag-isip. No? Then, you multiply it by the molar mass of MgO. And all of those are equal to this. No? Okay? May mga molar masses andito na. Ito yung AlQ3, MgQ2, aluminum oxide, and magnesium oxide. Okay? So, yun. So, mahirap yung problem pero pag inulit-ulit nyo, madali na lang talaga siya actually. Sa una lang siya intimidating, pero sa dulo hindi na. Okay? So with that, we are done with our review session. No? So 3 problem lang pero ang tagal natin. So most likely, ganito din sa quiz natin. So I wish you all the best sa review na. Okay. So by weekends, I will upload all the answers together with other supplementary questions with solutions no? Para makapag-review kayo ng maigi. No? Okay. So any questions about our session or good na tayo? Okay, so feeling wala na siguro yung session no? Question no? So bale, ganito na lang gawin nyo. Sir, pwede po ba kami makahingi pa ng ibang problems? Pwede naman, no? So, doon na lang siya sa worksheet siguro na ibibigay ko sa Saturday, no? So, doon sa worksheet na yun, may solution na rin na para makita nyo yung answers. Pero bago nyo tignan yung solution, takpan nyo na lang muna, no? Yung sagutan nyo muna yung question. Bibigay ako ng supplementary questions pa dito sa worksheet na to. Okay. So, yun. Mukha lang siyang tricky, pero tricky siya talaga. Pero kaya yan. Manageable naman. Okay? So again, I will give more problems na may solution na sa Sabado so that you can review well. Okay? So for now, focus muna kayo dito. Then pag gamay nyo na siya, try nyo na yung mga ibibigay kong questions. Okay? So yan. Don't worry. Bibigyan ko kayo materials. Any other questions? Concerns? Again, by the way, no, next week, Monday, wala tayong class so that you can focus on the quiz kasi mahirap yung quiz na to. You need more time no, para makasagot kayo dito na maigi. Okay, so wala tayong meeting on Monday. Yung quiz, mag-open siya Monday then until, let's say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, until Thursday para 3 days na. Okay, so then sa Thursday, holiday yon, walang pasok, no? So, yan, you have more time to study na lang, no? And to be prepared, no? So, yun. That will be all for today, no? So, again, habang nagsasagot kayo na itong worksheet natin over the weekend, panoorin nyo na lang to uli sa YouTube, no? The more na inuulit nyo sagutan yung problem na to, the more you will realize na manageable to, kaya to, no? So, yun. Sa una lang talaga siya nakakatakot, no? So, anyway, so thank you for your attendance, no? If you have any other concerns, no, email lang kayo, ay, message lang kayo dito sa Teams, no? So, a copy of the class recording will be uploaded on YouTube, no? And as always,